Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And special welcome to you this morning. Good morning. I'm all yours, which means that today we're going to open up both banks of phones early on so that you can get in. So if you tried to call in a previous show and it was busy, you know, that dreaded bant. Well, today that's not going to happen because Miss Hannah's going to take your call at 888-CAR Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. I actually forgot that one morning. You laugh. Fabio's laughing, our producer. I did forget that. 25, I couldn't figure out what it was. I've only said it 100,000 times. 227-2546. So if you have a car question or you have a comment or as Hannah said earlier in the day, as we were preparing to come on air, was, well, Bobby, why don't you tell a story about being stopped by the police and maybe folks would like to share their story, because I have one. She said, but I don't want to be on air, she says. So she's the young lady that you will talk to when you call 888 Car Clinic, so you can ask her about her experience. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. You can learn more about their products and the industry-leading application coverage at motorradusa.com. Your calls when I come back. James is going to be first up because he was first in the queue. 888-227-2546. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Today's question: what makes up your engine's cooling system? The cooling system is a part of the engine that regulates engine temperature and helps prevent breakdown from overheating. A typical cooling system is comprised of the engine's water jacket, a thermostat to regulate flow, a water pump, a radiator that exchanges the heat to the outside air, and the connecting hoses and tubes. The cooling system is designed to remove excess heat to keep the inside of the engine at an efficient operating temperature, approximately 201 degrees Fahrenheit. The cooling system has one major purpose: to ensure that the circulation of the coolant inside the engine can absorb and release heat. The proper mixture of coolant coupled with a high-quality thermostat are critical to cooling system operation. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle, on the road or off, leading the way in coverage and service. For more details, go to motorradusa.com. I have another vehicle repair to spotlight. A 99 Jeep Cherokee came into the shop recently with a P0303 misfire fault on cylinder number 3. The misfire was erratic, which made diagnosing the problem more difficult. Other shops had thrown parts at it, installing new plug wires, plugs, fuel injector, and some technical service bulletin updates. Nothing worked. We used a borescope, a type of inside-the-engine camera, to inspect the number 3 cylinder, and sure enough saw heavy carbon deposits around the exhaust valve. No traditional cleaner will work on a carbonized exhaust valve. Enter Berryman Products B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. We removed the plug, brought the piston around so the exhaust valve was just opening, and filled the cylinder with Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. After an overnight soak, we siphoned out the chemical and replaced the plug. Now, several weeks since the repair, and no reported problems, thanks to Berryman. Find more automotive repair and maintenance solutions at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Yo. That's a heck of a way to open a program, but it reminds me of Breaking Bad, which that one actor was Yo. I never did care for that guy. Just was something about him I didn't appreciate, even the actor. But the reason I said yo is because I'm looking at gas prices, and the first thing that comes to mind is yo-yo. The gas prices are like a yo-yo. This time, same time year ago, they're up. Today, they're higher than they were same time this year. And so I have two different columns here. One's a change from a week ago and one from a year ago. So and they're regions of the country, like 9 or 10 regions of the country. East Coast, West Coast, Midwest, Gulf Coast, Rocky Mountain, and so on and so forth. So the average for today is $255.7. The highest in the country is $3.13. But regardless of that, all regions of the country are higher than they were the same time a year ago. However, last week they're lower. In every region they were last week. And so when I look at these and I download them from the government site, I just really, I'm perplexed, I guess, and just not really. I guess it's a wonder to me is what drives this price up and down, up and down. It's so volatile that you just never know, except that when it gets down to really a great deal, go fill up. I guess that's what it boils down to, takes immediate action. So let's take some immediate action and go to the phones. I see that Rob and Dan and James, we're going to take a call from James. And so, folks, it's great for you to get in early, 888-227-2546. So, Hannah, put that number up so that in case I forget it, okay. James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby, it's always an honor to talk with you.
Thank you, my friend.
I have a unique situation and a question I think I haven't heard you talk about in a while, and I want to bring it to your attention.
Sure.
I am a professional locksmith, and I used to have an old Chevy Astro 95 Astro van that had a 5,000-watt inverter with 3 deep cell batteries. I mean, I had serious power. If I was in the woods, I could do anything.
Yes, sir.
Now I was in a situation where when 2005 rolled around, I got a 2005 Chevy Astro, and I used to have on the on a 95 vehicle a Cole Hershey ambulance battery switch. It was so cool. I could go battery 1 or battery 2, or I could go to both.
Wow.
It was really nice. That means if I wanted to charge one battery, or I could charge my both batteries.
Right.
But now, since on my 2005, the tech installed an RV unit which connector that charges all batteries at the same time as I'm going down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you is basically this. When I look on my inverter, it looks like it's not giving me a full charge like it used to. Do I have to disconnect the quick start battery of my main vehicle in order to charge my deep cell batteries?
You mean the start-stop battery?
Yeah, right.
No,
my main battery, which is the quick start, which is in front of the vehicle.
Well, now you're saying quick start. Does your car have a start-stop system?
Correct.
Okay. A start-stop system and a start-stop battery is totally separate from the battery that cranks the car when you turn the switch on. My car has a start-stop battery in the trunk that's about the size.
In this situation, start-stop battery, no.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so because you got an old battery. Right, standard battery. Okay. So you're saying quick start, and I was, connecting
I'm thinking it's not a deep cell. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. All right. Well, to that end, let's for those listeners who are just confused as we are now, let's set this aside. A start-stop battery is where you pull up to a traffic light and your engine goes dead, and you let off the brake, and it starts. And that's a start-stop system. That's totally separate from the main battery that when you push the button and start the car with your foot on the brake, it uses the regular battery. And the regular battery is a huge battery. It's maybe, and I say huge physically, in my car, it's probably 14 inches long and those sorts of things. So it's probably 900 cold cranking amps. But getting back to your question, as I understand it, you're concerned that your alternator, your charging system, is not charging your batteries, quote, plural, as you drive.
Right. Because there's a difference between a deep cell and the regular battery.
Well,
so
wait. A deep cell, well, not really. There's a difference between AGM. AGM outpaces all of those. You've heard me talk about the Bosch AGM, and the AGM battery can cycle more. A deep cell battery can be drained and recharged deeper and more often and more times over its projected life than a standard wet cell battery. Okay? So if you have a deep cell battery in your left hand, well, you wouldn't have it in the left hand, on the left side, and a regular wet battery on the right, an AGM deep cell or deep cycle battery or a marine battery, and then you have a regular battery, they're still 12-volt batteries with 2.2 volts per cell. So the charging that would go to one battery would do the same as it would with one as it would with the other. They're
all connected together.
They are
That's
all,
what I'm saying.
Exactly. Now, okay. So are we there? Are we on the same page so far?
Correct.
Okay. When I had a motor home, I had, of course, the motorhome start battery, which is what you're talking about, the main quick start battery, the starter battery. And then I had the motorhome batteries that were under the step that were for the motorhome. If for some reason my main battery got run down, if I left the parking lights on, because we didn't have the battery disconnect that we have on new cars today. On new cars, you can't run the battery down. You can leave the key on. On my car, it's aggravating because the most I can play the radio once I turn the key off or turn the car off with a button is 10 minutes. And the radio said shutting down. And then you hit, and if it shuts down, you hit it again. Because when I first bought the car, I used to go out in the garage and try to learn how to work all the screens and widgets and what have you. And the most I could get was 10 minutes, unless I wanted to let the engine idle, and you can't do that, or you shouldn't. I have done that, but not in the garage. So the point's this. A deep cell battery is designed so that it can cycle more and take more abuse than a regular battery. Quite candidly, I put a deep cell battery in my remote broadcast trailer because it's not used very often, but what I wanted to, the battery only illuminates the inside two lights. That's its whole purpose in life. But I put a deep cell battery because I wanted it to last a long time. That battery didn't last any longer than a standard battery. It was because of my methodology of charging. That was before I got a smart charger. A smart charger, and your car doesn't have a smart charger per se.
Correct.
A smart charger is a shore-powered, computer-controlled battery charger that not only cuts way back on its charging rate, it shuts off the charge because it pings the battery every 20 seconds. And if the battery's healthy, it doesn't do anything but desulfate the battery plates. And so while it's still connected to the battery and still charging the battery, the unit will stop charging, and then maybe in 4 hours or in 24 hours, the battery comes off of its 100% charge and gets down to 99%, whatever that threshold may be, and then that it pings it. Of course, it pings it every 20, 30 seconds, and then it goes back in and says, oh, okay, now you need a little pat on the butt. You need to come back up, and it'll do that. It'll bring it back up. But your particular vehicle really would not know if you had one battery or four batteries, except that, of course, the more batteries you have, the bigger the alternator you should have to sustain the load, because batteries have a duty cycle life expectancy, and I can make that really short. I can lift 10 pounds 100 times, but I couldn't lift 100 pounds 10 times. You see where I'm going? So
Gotcha.
a battery maximum charge, and I'm not sure of what today's batteries. An alternator's maximum charge would be, say, 100 amps, but it would only be for about 8 minutes. Otherwise, it would overheat. So an alternator that goes bad, and you put and the battery runs down, and then you go to a shop and they put an alternator in it, and they don't charge the battery, and they give you your car back. Because, if you jump and start a car, you can probably charge it and run it and crank it maybe 5 minutes later, and it seems to be okay, but the battery is not okay. It takes 3 to 4 hours of charging at 15 amps to bring a battery to that. It's like taking antibiotics. You get a 10-day supply, and if you take 4, you're feeling well, and you leave the other 6 on the shelf, that's the worst thing you can do for your body.
Bobby,
so,
I do appreciate you taking my call. It's just a situation I just never ran into. I didn't know if I needed to take away, disconnect the front battery so I can just charge the ones in the back. But you answered my question. In other words, it doesn't matter. It will still charge all the batteries if I put it to a battery charger.
It will, but when you cut that vehicle off, you best make sure that those batteries are disconnected. And that's where I was going with the motorhome. Because if something is on and runs one down, you have no option to jumpstart the vehicle from the other. You got it?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Very interesting, and when I come back, I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. Rob and Dan, thank you for holding in there. 888-227-2546.
Oh, O'Reilly.
If you've been delaying that oil change, replacing those brake pads, or ignoring that check engine light, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and use your tax refund to take care of problems you've been putting off. Spend a little of your tax refund on your vehicle now and avoid costly repairs down the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I am for the child who lives in motels, cars, and shelters. The child finally put in foster care, a group home, where he sleeps not on a bed, but a temporary cot. That is the child I am for. And because I am, he'll be that much more likely to find a safe, permanent home. I am a court-appointed special advocate volunteer. I am you.
Lift up a child's voice, a child's life. Get involved at casaforchildren.org.
Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment, folks. To finish our story that we were talking with batteries and what have you, on the motorhome, you have the main battery, or in many RVs, you have the main battery that you must have healthy so that you can start the engine and drive off. Because when you get to a campsite, if for some reason that you're not at a campsite, but you're beside the road and your generator's out of fuel or what have you, or you don't want to run it low of fuel, and you have to depend on the coach batteries, then you could run the coach battery down, but those batteries are separated when you turn the key off, even though they're connected when you're driving down the road, because the alternator not only charges the coach batteries, the start battery, the truck battery, the cranker battery, it also charges the coach batteries. But when you stop, you want those disconnected so that you can never have the opportunity of running and draining all of the batteries. So key off, batteries are separated, key on, batteries come together. But what if, when the key is on, the main battery, the truck start battery, has been drained? You left the parking lights on and it's drained. My vehicle had a switch where you push a button, a rocker switch, momentary switch, which means you had to hold it in to make it work, and that momentary switch would connect the coach batteries to the truck battery, and I could start from the coach batteries by boosting my truck battery from the coach batteries. What was really interesting about that is what powers that rocker switch? Well, the coach battery would power the rocker switch because the truck battery would be dead. So if the truck battery's dead, You couldn't energize the truck battery by the rocker switch if the rocker switch depended on the truck battery. But what if the coach batteries were dead? The same thing. That rocker switch would rock. It had a neutral position and it had a top and a bottom rocker position so that you could jump start the coach batteries from the truck battery or vice versa. It was ingenious, it was very simple, and it was a 73 model sports coach motorhome with a big block Chevrolet. Let's go to South Carolina, take a call from Rob. Rob, thanks for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby. Good to see you. Good
to
see hear from you today.
Hey, good. Glad to have you in the house.
All right, I'm a big fan. It's my first time calling, and I got kind of a problem on my wife's car, and I wondered if you can give me some insight and what possibly it could be. She's got, for our anniversary 3 years ago, I bought her a 2014 Dodge Charger RT. It's the all-wheel drive version of the car.
Okay.
About 6 to 7 months ago, the car started to develop a pull to the right. So if you're driving down a flat road, you momentarily kind of lessen your grip on the steering wheel. The steering wheel will start to turn slowly to the right. It wants to find the ditch.
Right.
I took it to there's a local Ford dealership around here that has a service department that's separate from the dealership. I took it in thinking it might need a front wheel alignment. He called me like 15 minutes later, and he said, I need to see you. And I went in to see him, and he said, this car, according to our computer, is all in the green. He said, this car is lined up.
Right.
And he said, well, he said, I have got directional tires on the car. He said, we tried to cross-rotate those. He said, it still pulls to the right.
Right.
He said, I wonder if there's something wrong in your transaxle. So I took it back to our dealership. I left it with them for 3 days. They called me, and they said nothing's loose in the suspension. They checked the alignment. They said, yes, it is pulling to the right. And they said, it's got to be your tires. Now, Bobby, I bought tires for this car about a year ago. I don't remember it doing this when I bought the tires. So after I left the dealership, I took them back to the place that I bought the tires. I told him the situation. I even had him dismount the tires, remount them, move them to the other side of the car. It still pulls to the right. If you're going down the road and, say, a car pulls out in front of you, or if a light changes suddenly ahead of you and you have to brake quickly, it doesn't pull. It just goes straight. It's, not like a car is out of line or has a brake issue. And I'm really at a loss. I don't know what else possibly it could be. And I've took it to a third location, and they told me the same thing. They said, this car, according to our computer, is lined up perfectly. There's nothing loose in the suspension. It's got to be the tires. But but the other weekend, when I had them adjusted, had to move to the other side, it seems to me that it would pull to the left, wouldn't it? If I had a defective pulling tire, do I have a right logic in this?
Well, you do, and there's two different things that we need to discuss. One is conicity, and conicity is, imagine a styrofoam coffee cup, and you put it on the table and roll it. It rolls in a circle. That's because it's a cone. That's because one end of it is smaller diameter than the other end. If a tire has an interior ply or cord that is ruptured and weak, then that tire will inspect perfectly. It will look perfect. It will be round without the pressure on it. But under forced runout, which forced runout was a term that was coined many years ago, 50 years ago. Ford Motor Company had issues with two-ply tires when they first came out in the 70s because they would shake and shimmy at 68 miles per hour, and it felt like the drive shaft and differential and transmission, what have you, and it was a two-ply tire. So having had experience, I've had a lot of experience with that particular vehicle because I worked for Ford Motor Company at that time. Now, having said that, the Canicity would, if all things are equal and the car's straight and you've got the right front tire and the outside belt on the right front tire is ruptured, then when you put the weight on the car, i.e. forced, when you put the weight on the car, or you take the weight off the car, it looks good. You rotate it and inspect it and balance it, yada, yada, all good. But you put the weight of the car, that forces the plies to sustain the weight of the car. Well, the right shoulder is weak, and it steers to the right, and that's called canicity. And if that is the case, then you're right by saying you could take the right front tire. Now, this is to do nothing but this. You don't fool with the rear tires. You don't change pressures. All pressures are equal. You take the right front tire and put it on the left, and the left front tire and put it on the right. If there's canicity involved, the car's going to pull to the left. So you're right in that, and that does happen. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, as a rule, it's hard to diagnose because everyone gets into this alignment mode and changing tires and moving tires, and you do too many things at one time, and so you don't know if move A fixed it or didn't, or move B or C or D. So you have to do one thing at a time. This is what I teach my guys in the service shop to do if we're trying to develop a problem, because they do one thing. And I had a gentleman last week that made a repair, and I was over there and I said, "How did it fix it?" He said, "Well, I'm doing this." I said, "But what about the first thing you did?" "Well, I'm doing this too." I said, "Don't do that. Only do one thing at a time. Go drive the car and see if that makes a significant change. Only then can you determine whether or not what you're doing is significant. Otherwise, you get to the 15 changes down the road and you don't know what fixed the car, or if you fixed the car, or if it just went away. Now, let's back up. So, canicity, you understand what canicity is? That's one thing that causes a car to steer one way or the other. There's another. It's called rollout. Rollout is, let's take an orange that's perfectly round and put a mark on it and turn it one revolution, and it will roll out 10 inches. Okay. Now let's take a bowling ball. Do the same thing. It's going to roll out 25 inches, right? So if you put a bowling ball on the right side of your car and an orange on the left side of your car, the car's going to steer to the left because the right front tire covers more area. And NASCAR does this by changing. They have equal tires. They're all X-ray tires and all known quality. They'll change tire pressure half-pound increments to influence the way the car handles on certain tracks. So you need to take the tires and make sure that they're warm, and then take the weight off the tire, make sure the pressure's equal, and mark the tire, use a tape measure and check the circumference of, or the rollout of, each individual tire. And they've got to be within 1/8 of an inch or so. Hopefully they're right on, but that's, a perfect world we don't live in. So, but if you've got a 1/2 inch taller tire, not taller, but a 1/2 inch more circumference, then that would affect the steering of the car. Now, I would think that the people that have checked your car for you are familiar with these issues and would have helped you and would have found it. Having said that, if you're a regular listener, you know that about a year ago, I had a customer with a Lexus that led to the right. Now, this vehicle didn't pull to the right, but if you drove it from Pensacola to Atlanta, by the time you got to Noonan, you'd say, there's something wrong. I'm tired of holding this car. I never have to hold it to the right. I always have to hold it to the left with my left arm. It doesn't really pull, but yet I'm only having to hold on to the steering wheel. And so finally, when you recognize that, it drives you crazy because what's wrong with this car? Always to the ditch, always to the ditch. So what we had to do on that car, Rob, was we had to loosen the subframe bolts. You know what the subframe is?
Yes.
Okay. We loosened those big bolts, and of course, where the bolts go through the subframe into the chassis of the car to hold the transmission, the engine, and the bottom steering components. We took that whole subframe. We loosened all 4 of those main bolts and some other strut bolts too. And we took the left rear, like you take your left rear, your left shoulder, and we pulled it back. We took a pry bar and we pushed the right one forward, and we steered that engine, that steering, and all of it about 2 degrees to the left. So here we've got a car headed straight down the highway, but its motor, transmission, and subframe is going to the left, and that cured that car. Only because there was no alignment on camber or caster on a Lexus car. And to that end, I'll add this. The owner of that car was having this issue with Lexus and already had it to Lexus. It's still under warranty, had 15,000 miles on it. We even put a set of tires because he wanted a set of tires, although I told him that's not going to fix the car. So I've got a set of Lexus tires with 15,000 miles that if somebody wants to give me, not him, me, I'll give him the money, you know, a couple $100 for, I'll take it. Because we put a set of tires on this car and that didn't fix it. I knew it wouldn't. And we moved the chassis. Now, they sent the car back to the dealer and Lexus came down. And when I come back from the break, I'll give you the 2-minute summary of where we are today. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. Recently, we sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. Jim specifically touched on performance benefits.
The SuperChips Flash Pack's performance tuning can impact your vehicle's mileage, towing performance, or to optimize drivability while daily driving. The tuning is designed to eliminate excessive downshifting to improve overall drivability, and you can manage things like active fuel management, adjust for particular shift points or shift patterns, shift firmness, and torque management. Additionally, you can also read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, adjust your speed and rev limiters, and correct your speedometer for aftermarket tire and gear ratios. And all of this would come with a 2-year powertrain warranty that comes standard with the SuperChips Flash Pack.
Find your perfect tune at superchips.com. That's superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. When it gets cold, your vehicle needs some extra attention. O'Reilly Auto Parts has everything you need to keep your vehicle toasty warm. From choosing the right antifreeze for your engine to replacing your windshield wiper blades, O'Reilly will help get your car or truck in fighting shape for the cold weather. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. We're talking with Rob from South Carolina. So Rob, here's a summary. On this Lexus, and this is something you can try on your automobile because it's easy to put back. What we did on this Lexus was we loosened the carriage bolts, the big bolts that hold the subframe to the car. And that's where they, when they assemble the car, they bring the body down over all of the running gear and they lift it up. We've all seen that on television, right? I've actually been there to the factory. Okay, well, the bolt holes, of course, have to have enough room for the big bolts to go through. And there are no dowel pins on the subframe. So we loosened all of those and we pried the left side back, we pried the right side forward so that we could influence the direction of the wheels and the subframe because the spindles had no camber or caster adjustment. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. To that end, after Lexus got the car back, the service director called me and said, do you have a copy of all the services you performed on this car for this gentleman? I said, yes. And this gentleman has bought a lot of cars, a lot of Lexus cars. He has a lot of cars. So the bottom line, and he's very intelligent. He's not the kind of guy that you say, oh, it's okay, put a little more gas in, it's going to be all right. You know, he wants it fixed. So after they finished with it and gave it back to him, and it was okay, it was acceptable, and it no longer led to the right, I brought it back in. He brought it back to me because I had requested it so I could see what they did because they couldn't fix it to start with. Well, guess what? My markings on the subframe and the bolts were even greater than they were when I left it. So I moved it all the way back and all the way to the right. They actually put more pressure on it. But in the meantime, they also put one upright, the right front spindle. And the right front spindle on the car has no adjustments. It only holds the two ball joints on the top and the subframe and the wheel, and it wasn't bent. And it's a cast part. It's aluminum. But in my heart of hearts, not to throw Lexus under the bus, in my heart of hearts, that's what Lexus did, the Lexus engineer, so that they could report some replacement part so they could say they fixed the car. But what they didn't do was what they said they were going to do is put the car back straight after I had it turned. It was still turned, and it's that way today, and that fixed the car. So I'm saying to you, you may have to loosen the subframe bolts. It's no big deal. Just take a magic marker and scribe, half a turn around by the washer on the subframe. You know where I'm talking about?
Yes, I think I do.
Well, in other words, if you've got a screw holding a hinge on a door, and you draw a circle around the screw, and you loosen the screw and you move the door a bit, the circle that's under the screw head is going to be off a little bit. You see what I'm saying? Because you're forcing it.
Yes, I do.
Now you can only force the hinge as much as the hole is, as big as the hole is. Now, granted, you could take the screw out and put a bigger hole, and then you could have more adjustment. You see where I'm going?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we didn't do that, of course, because you'd have to drill the carriage, and we didn't. We figured a little bit would be enough, and it was, and that fixed the car. So I'm saying to you that may be necessary for you to be satisfied with this car, and that's what it's really all about. And I want to remind everyone that's in the service business, it's not what the specifications call for that makes the customer happy. It's fixing the car and whatever it takes, and that may mean having it aligned so that it would normally pull to the left if that's what it takes to stop it from pulling to the right. You got it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, call me back after you get to the other side of this. Try that. Subframe, skew the subframe. You can always put it back. Doesn't affect anything except that it will influence the way the car drives. You got it?
Yes, I do.
All right. I'd love to hear from you back again. Let's go to Dan next. Dan has a 2016 Tacoma. Dan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Connect. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
We're thrilled that you're in Pensacola
thank you,
with
my
us.
friend.
We can just bring our stuff up there and let you work on it.
I appreciate that.
We're looking at purchasing a Toyota Tacoma, and the price point is between a 2015 and a 2016. And the 2016 has a new 3.5 liter. I think it has a some new technology on the fuel injector system, and that's given a little bit better gas mileage, a little bit more horsepower. But I have a little bit of anxiety about buying the new model year, and the new motor and stuff like that. And I just wondered, what's your opinion on that? Do you think that 3.5 liter will have the longevity that the 4.0 did for the Tacoma?
Let me just say this. Toyota products are fantastic. We have one customer who drives a Tundra with 460,000 miles, and the engine is quieter than my 2013 Jag with 50,000 miles on it. Of course, my car's always had a really noisy engine. It sounds like every rod's knocking and all the chains and everything else until the oil pressure builds up. Now, and it's just normal, but I don't like it. Now, having said that, your question is more about, should I buy the latest technology or stick with what I know to be good? My answer to that is always buy the latest technology. Even if it's a brand new body, even if it's a brand new car, even if it's a brand new engine or powertrain, because we have today the smartest, the automotive industry spends more R&D money second to the medical profession than any other profession in the world. Billions of dollars per year. I mean, right here in the States alone, it's like $18 to $20 billion a year is spent on new technology. And the fact that we have instantaneous reporting, I mean, you look at GM. GM can monitor not only you, but monitor your car and tell you, your tank is half empty. I mean, from your own living room, you can check your tire pressure. So I said all that to say that I would have no qualms or no reservations recommending the latest and greatest technology, and here's why. Not only is it designed for better gas mileage and cleaner air, which sometimes hurts gas mileage, but better mileage, but also there are safety devices on the later car that didn't have, and the earlier car might not have had. An example of that is a good friend of mine, Gary Bazemore, he lives in South Florida, had a Raptor, and he had the V8, and he loved it. He had 150,000 miles on it. He said, Bobby, it has been a workhorse. I want to get a new vehicle, but the new one is a V6, and I don't know if I like a V6. So we talked about this a couple times over the holidays, and he went ahead and got the V6. Now, he still has to sell himself on the V6 because it doesn't have that guttural sound that the V8 had. But, so he's not 100% sold on the V6. Having said that, he's 150% sold on the technologically improvements that this 17 truck has over his whatever the other one was, 14 or 13.
Right.
So I would say to you to go for the latest and greatest technology. And as we speak, I'm waiting for the new iteration of my car to come out, because ever since I bought my car, the center stack and the navigation system is, and even trying to make a decent phone call hands-free is so clunky. I just wish they would connect my car to Apple Play so I could just use my phone and wirelessly say, call Dan in Florida. You see where I'm going? And so
yes, sir.
I'm all for the latest and greatest technology because I see it, and I see it working, and cars are better made than they've ever been before, even if you're talking half years.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. That's going to help me to, it's going to cost a little bit more money to go to that newer year, but it sounds like, it'll be a newer body style,
yes,
and newer
sir.
technology.
Absolutely.
It'll be well worth it.
And one more thing before I let you go. Here's the point. Never buy a new car in August of that year, because when you buy, let's say it's July 30th right now today of 18, and we buy an 18 car. Well, 6 weeks from now it's going to be a year old, right? Because the 19s come out. So when you and that's why dealers will shed their inventory toward the end of the year. Of course, they got quotas they want to meet too, so they get their rebates. But that's all good. It's all good for the consumer. It's just the way the sales is structured. But I will tell you, from the standpoint of getting a new car and having a new car that is new longer, you should always get the latest body or wait 2 months. And I did that on my car. I waited, and I'm glad I did, because the 2012 of my car came, and I ordered it with a 6-speed transmission, and they came out with an 8-speed for the V6 in the next year. And darn if, and I waited because I wanted the next year, but I didn't know about the 8-speed. And darn if my V8 doesn't have an 8-speed German transmission. And I really, really am glad at that, because I get 26.7 at 79 miles an hour. Hey, Dan, got other calls?
Wow.
Got to go. Thank you for your kind words. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Folks, I want to take this opportunity to welcome next week. This is a premature welcome. KKLS in Rapid City, South Dakota, 104.7, 920 AM. It's a 50,000 watt car clinic affiliate. It's the first we've had in a while, and we've had several, but I just didn't stop to welcome them. So this is an early welcome to KKLS 104.7 FM, 920 AM in Rapid City, South Dakota. Next week, we'll be taking calls from that area for sure. In the meantime, let's go to Harry. Harry, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby, thank you. You may remember you helped me on GM's iteration of air conditioning technology in my wife's Equinox.
Yes, sir, I did. What can I do for you today?
Well, I just got a 2018, the latest technology Chevrolet Traverse.
Okay.
And I have a couple of questions about your opinion. It sounds like you like the 9-speed transmission, which I think is probably good, and I get great mileage.
I'd love a 10-speed. If you want to know the truth, give me the 10-speed. I'd trade my car in the day for a 10-speed as long as I had 10 gears. I would not want the CVT transmission with the chain drive. I want my first and second and third, and I want to feel that shift from one plateau to the next. But anyway, back to you. What is your question, sir?
Well, in this car, I moved from a 2011 Cadillac, which was archaic in technology, but great car, to this car, and there are two things that really irritate me about it, and I want your opinion. Number one is auto stop at every light or stop sign.
Yes, sir.
It shuts the engine down until you very easily let up on the brake.
Yeah, start, stop, okay.
And I'm not crazy about that, but I don't think there's an override. The other one is the auto lock on the car. After 8 seconds, when you get out and close the door, if you don't lock it, it locks itself and blows the horn.
Right.
Which in 8 seconds finds you about a foot from the horn in your garage. It's very irritating.
Okay, let me say this. First, let's talk about the start-stop real quickly. The start-stop should have a switch that overrides it. So when there's an econo switch there, so it should have a switch that overrides it. Unfortunately, some manufacturers default to the start-stop. My car defaults to the start-stop, and I never liked it, and I still don't like it to this day, because every time I get in the car, I have to reach over to the center stack and push that button to shut that off, because I don't like the start-stop feature. Now, number one. Number two, and BMW had so many complaints that BMW changed the software so that whatever the driver left it, when you restarted the car, it would default to where the driver had put it. So, and I wish my car had that, but it doesn't. So your car may or may not have that feature. I know that it has a feature, or I don't know this. I assume, and I'm pretty sure, that it would have a button that would enable you to disable that function, but I don't know if it would stay there or not. That's up to GM. Getting back to the other part of it, your other scenario. What was your other question again? I got so involved in that.
It locks.
Oh yeah.
Okay. 8 seconds after you close the door.
You can go into the owner's settings, and you read the owner's manual and disable the horn, because if you live in in a small neighborhood or an apartment complex and you come home and you're a night worker and you get in at 4 o'clock in the morning, you for sure don't want your car to beep in the middle of the parking lot or in the middle of the parking garage. So there's a way to shut the horn off, just like there's a way, Harry, for you to, when you hit the key fob to unlock the door, it unlocks the driver's door only. That's a 1-pass, 2-pass, and that 2-pass means you hit it one time, it unlocks the driver. You hit the unlock again, unlocks the rest of the doors. That's so that when you go to a mall and you can get in your car and someone may be chasing you, you can unlock the door and not unlock all the doors and get in. Otherwise, you can reset it to unlock all doors with one button. Folks, that's all the time we have. Another hour coming up. Don't go away. I'm Bobby Likis. You'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST technology, or high-energy solvent technology. The combination of HEST and powerful detergents help maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. Here's another testimonial. Kevin's weekend car, his Porsche, was making a coughing noise and generating a backfire upon startup. Within 2 weeks of using just 1 can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, the problem was gone. Learn more about Berryman product and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning, folks. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We'll also open the 888 number. It's a little easier for you to remember. 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, all the other electrical demands of today's vehicles. That's why you need a power frame battery. It's a power frame grid technology by Johnson Controls. Learn more at autobatteries.com. And when you buy a battery, folks, you try to make the decision to get the best one. Here's what I use, AGM. I'm slowly moving my customers over to AGM because AGM batteries last longer and they have that continued use capability. They really are the best. You'll pay a little more, but you get what you pay for. I'm going to open the phones, 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue. We already have Mike and Kelly in the queue. I'll be coming to Mike first when I come back from this commercial break at 227-2546. I'll be back. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries, including which vehicles are the best candidates for this type of battery. Let's hear from Joe.
Well, there are many different types of everyday vehicles that could be a good candidate, from soccer moms to landscape vehicles to different types of hot rods that really would work well with an AGM battery. Many of these vehicles include extensive electrical features, which really place greater emphasis on the demand for the battery. Additionally, if you purchase aftermarket accessories, such as infotainment systems or even lights, you may require a more advanced battery, such as our AGM. Lastly, where and how you drive your vehicle can really impact the battery performance. So for example, if you live in a climate that gets really hot or cold during our summers or winters, our AGM battery will perform better than standard flooded batteries under these conditions.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's cars. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have the money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. For example, heater core leaks are an expensive repair and can cost up to $1,000. These sorts of leaks often happen on vehicles that really aren't worth the price of the repair. Your choice is to spend the money or junk the car. Now, there's a third option, K-Seal. Older sealers use sodium silicate, and while it may stop the leak, it may also clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair leaking heater cores without clogging. It's a simple repair. Just shake the container, mix the contents completely, add K-Seal to the radiator directly when the vehicle is cool, and then drive the car until the leak is sealed. Important to remember that when working on a cooling system, never remove a radiator cap while the vehicle's hot. Pressure and heat can be dangerous. Avoid a coolant leak casualty? Try K-Seal. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terrific that you tuned in today. Just remember that every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you on your local AM and or FM radio station. And also, we're live on the web at watchbobbylive.com. I mentioned the AGM battery as being my favorite. It's my favorite because the AGM is designed to handle the extreme loads of today's automobiles. Well, like a good battery and like a battery that is a state of the art, you better have a good alternator to charge it. And to that end, the Bosch alternators are phenomenally over-the-top quality. For example, Bosch has been a major supplier of new alternators to the original equipment vehicle manufacturers since 1913, folks. And when you secure an OE certification and you make a product like an alternator, you have to adhere to strict and stringent precision and performance criteria. These same exacting criteria are also applied in the manufacturing of all Bosch aftermarket alternators. Bosch premium alternators are quality built. They're 100% factory tested, and you'll have absolutely reliable performance for years, even under the most extreme operating conditions. Why? Because 100% of the new components withstand the harshest environments for the longest performance and the best performance. They're built specifically to withstand excessive heat and high electrical demands, and that's what today's cars demand, high electrical demands. And the mounting points are 100% gauged and resized or rethreaded so that they fit. And as an added bonus, you get a free 24-hour roadside assistance protection with the purchase of select Bosch alternators. For more information, go to BoschAutoparts.com. And when you buy a battery, next for your car, get an AGM battery. Let's take a call from Mike. Mike, thank you so much for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. First-time caller, long-time listener, although you've been kind enough to respond to my emails from time to time. Bobby, I'd like to hear your comments on additives, radiator, crankcase oil, transmission, and gas. And not that I think they would harm my vehicle, but are they worth my money? And, Bobby, we're on 1 hour delay here at KTBB in Tyler, Texas, so I'll hang up and listen to your response in an hour.
Okay. Now is that cool, Fabio? What do you think about that? Fabio's our producer there, and the team, Jonathan and Hannah, are listening as well. Mike, that's a really good question. And am I an endorser of engine oil, transmission, and or other fluids of the car additives? And the answer is positively yes. So let's take an overview first. Gasoline that you put in your automobile is mandated to have certain detergents in it. Now, the amount of detergent is sort of lacking because the government tells the oil refineries that they have to put X amount of, and I don't know what the formula is, but they have to put X amount of the detergent in the gasoline to clean your carbon as you drive, because all gasoline burns and creates carbon. It's just that, well, the engine creates the carbon and it's leftover unburned hydrocarbons. To that end, and you've heard Shell, and they're not a sponsor of this program, but you've heard Shell with their V-Power, and it has 4 times the cleaner. Shell does put 4 times the cleaner than is mandated by the government. So is it a cleaner burning fuel? I think so. I use it if I'm on the road and I have my choice of stopping. I will stop at a Shell station over another station. But I don't force myself to do that, but there is a benefit to doing that, number one. Now, with regard to oil additives, we created a program in our service shop of this March will be 47 years called Booster Shot. We coined that phrase automotively. We serviced marked through our attorneys in New York, Booster Shot, and we own Booster Shot. You go to boostershot.com and you'll come to Car Clinic Service or Bobby Likis. You'll see that just like we did our pre-repair, the prevention of repair. Now, what we did was and our Booster Shot means that we take conventional motor oil and we add a pint of full synthetic additive, which gives us a synthetic blend, which gives our customers synthetic blended oil at a much reduced price than the full quart of synthetic oil. So rather than paying $9 to $11 per quart of oil, they pay $15 for this additive, which also includes a fuel additive, and that happens every 5,000 miles, and that allows them to travel and have a longer interval between oil changes and still have the protection of the oil, because the oil doesn't wear out. It is the additive package that wears out in oil. And that additive package is limited, and it's specifically designed by each oil maker, by each gasoline maker, by each transmission quality, transmission company, and what have you. So I'm all for additives. Do they benefit? Absolutely. And to that end, you should run a fuel additive in your tank every 5,000 miles. And I'll promote Berryman, because Berryman products I've used for a long time. Their Chem Tool, B12 Chem Tool, is not only an additive, it's a cleaning tool that we add to vehicles when we've got a severe carbon problem. And to that end, we can even do an IV, so to speak. An IV is where we actually take the additive and put it in the cylinder and leave it overnight to crack the valves and to decompose the carbon that's created on that valve, exhaust valve specifically, because it's hardened stuff. And then the next morning, we'll suck that stuff out of there, because we put it in, we take the plug out and put the Chem Tool in, and that will remove a layer or two or more of the carbon. No additive can undo 30,000 miles of carbon buildup in one fell swoop. That's why you should use additives on a regular basis. And for years, and those of you who have listened to me for years know that I used to promote using 2 bottles of Techron 25 years ago. The challenge with that is you're double dosing, so you need to, after you do that, change your oil and filter. Of course, during those days, we didn't have tight tolerance engines that we have today, and we had a lot of fuel dilution because we had carburetors that were so poor in their air-fuel ratio control. So you fast forward to today, and you say, well, this is all well and good, we have great engines. But I will tell you this, Mike, and here's the real challenge with today's engines. As good as they are, and they are fantastic, direct injection has a side effect, just like drugs, on your body that you take. What are the side effects? There's no fuel washing the carbon off the back of the intake valves, because the fuel is going directly into the piston area. And the carbon builds up on the back of the intake valve is severe and significant and causes a problem. And Mercedes-Benz, Audi's terrible. You take an Audi with 30,000 miles on it and pull the intake off of it, and you will see gobs of carbon build up, and you don't know it until you get 70,000 miles and the engine starts to misfire and run poorly, and you do all these procedures, and the only way to really cure it is to take the engine apart. So that's a long-winded endorsement of additives, but it's application sensitive. But additives are a good thing, but you should never use an additive to fix a problem. You should use an additive to sustain the lifeblood and the well-being of an engine on a regular basis so you should be proactive versus reactive. I hope that makes sense to you. Let's take another.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your call, Mike. Take another call from Kelly in Kansas. Kelly, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Sure appreciate your patience. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, Bobby, I just had a comment on the guy that had the car that pulled to the right.
Yes, yeah, it was this Dodge. Yeah. It was.
The guy said he had directional tires.
Yeah, I heard that.
So
yes.
if you had a broken cord in one of the tires and you switched it to the other side, the tires are still turning the same direction, so it still could pull to the right.
No. If you take a right side wheel that's going to the right and you put it on the left, it goes the other way.
Not if the cord's in the same side. If the cord's, for instance,
wait. You have cords. Let's break the tire down. You have the center, you have the outside and the inside of that tire. When you take an outside cord that is ruptured on the inside of that tire, like I spoke of, and you put the right tire on the left side, now that cord is on the left side of the tire and it's turning the opposite direction. Well, you hang right there when I come back, because I want you and I to be on the same page as well as everyone else here on Car Clinic. Don't touch the dial. Folks, you've heard me mention that we have an O'Reilly Auto Parts store right up the street from our Car Clinic service shop. Well, I want to share what happened this week. We had one of our fleet trucks in with a transmission noise. At least that's what the driver thought. Turned out, after road testing and racking the truck for closer inspection, the left front wheel bearing was almost locking up. The challenge was they needed the truck back in service the same day, and we didn't get it until almost 2 p.m., so we called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts counterman, explained the situation, and ordered both left and right bearing assemblies. No problems, we thought, but after we disassembled the wheel, we found damaged studs. Easy fix for sure? Well, by this time, it was almost 4 p.m., so we called O'Reilly Auto Parts back. We told them our dilemma and that we needed the studs ASAP. You know, when you have to get a vehicle back on the road, excuses aren't acceptable. And that's when O'Reilly Auto Parts stepped up. Studs delivered, even before we were ready to put the wheels back on. Saved our day and made our fleet manager really happy. Next time you need auto parts, call the pros at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Folks, cold winters can cause batteries to lose their cold cranking amps and ability to start a vehicle. Make sure you have your battery tested and, if needed, replaced with an AGM. AGM batteries maintain more charge over time, better suited for start-stop systems, and if your battery tests low, make sure you check the alternator as well. An extreme cold followed by extreme heat can diminish battery life. Frequently jump-starting your battery or letting a vehicle just sit idle for days at a time can also slowly reduce your battery's power and effectiveness, risking a dead battery. The Bosch S6 high-performance AGM battery is more resilient to the constant demands of start-stop systems and vehicles with high electronic demands. If you're like me, always charging multiple devices, listening to the radio, enjoying all the technology and electronics in your vehicle, upgrading your battery to a Bosch AGM unit is a must-do to keep your vehicle running at its best and ensure you have battery power, always. To find an AGM battery for your vehicle, go to BoschAutoparts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're talking with Kelly in Kansas. So Kelly, I want to turn the mic back to you so that you and I are on the same page. What we were talking about with the other caller in hour one was a couple things. One was canicity. Canicity is where you have a tire that has a weak or ruptured belt on either the inside or outside, and when it may look and test properly when there's no weight on it, but when the weight of the car is on that tire and it's on the outside, let's say it's on the right front, and the right outer cord is ruptured on the inside. When you put the weight of the car, that tire leans down and the inside cord has the power and it pushes the car to the right. If you took that tire off and moved it to the left side and put the left side on the right side, that means it would pull to the left. And they had already tried that, but that's what canicity is. Now, what was your comment?
He had directional tires.
Yes.
So you don't simply take the wheel off the right side and put it on the left side. You have to dismount the tire.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So if you have a weak outer side, you have a weak outside band on the right side.
Right.
Cord.
Right.
You put it on the left side, then it becomes the weak inside band still pulling to the right.
Well, actually, so okay. So if you took the right tire and you had a weak outside cord, okay.
Yes, making it pull to the right.
That's right. It would pull.
You put it on the left side, it becomes the weak inside band, still pulling to the weak side, which is to the right.
That's correct. I agree.
So that might be his problem. He's still pulling to the right. Doesn't matter which side you put the tire on.
Well, that's if they went to the trouble to take the tire off of the wheel.
But right, that's what I'm saying.
If they did that, it would change. It would. If they did that, then it wouldn't prove canonicity. But he didn't mention canonicity. I did. So
right.
when they swap tires, now you know that directional tires really have the only reason tires are directional is because of the tread design and evacuation of water. But I agree with you 100%. When you say swap, I didn't mean to swap tires. I meant to swap the wheel tire assembly so that you reversed it. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, that's what
exactly.
I'm saying. So
you were right on the money.
Put it on the other side. If it is the tire, it would still pull to the right.
Absolutely. You're exactly right.
So the thing he should do is go back to the tire dealer, and maybe he could come up with a pair of good used tires and put on it and just test drive it and see if that's the problem.
To that end, he put another set of tires on the car. Fabio, did he not mention? Do you remember the conversation? I've got it. We taped it.
Sounds familiar. That he...
Yeah, well, he did. They did change the tires, Kelly.
Right.
And it's still.
I didn't think he said he changed the tires.
Yeah, they did. They changed They did move the tires, and then they ended up putting another set of tires on the vehicle. Just like I did.
I didn't catch that part.
Yeah,
so
I know.
My point's mute.
Yeah, well,
thank you.
Yeah, but thank you for calling and for holding in there, because you are right. If you don't change the direction of the tire, if you don't change the location of the weak tread, then it's continued to lay down, and the side that stands up is going to push it still continue to push it to the right. I agree with you 100%. But a lot of tire companies and people that, unfortunately, a lot of the labor force that installs tires just installs tires and don't really understand the composition of what they're doing. I mean, quite candidly, people that install tires, and is not to degrade tire installers, because my guys put on tires, but I wouldn't do that all day long. It's too much manual labor. But some people, that's what they're talented, and that's the limits of their talent. If someone really wants to get into automotive service, that person will be trained and go to ASE, master ASE, and be paid more wages than just installing tires. But that's for another. That was a whole different ball game. But anyway, you made a good point there, and I really appreciate you holding and staying with me, folks. Earlier today, and we're going to go to Carol in New York. But earlier today, we played for you a commercial, and we still have another one coming up, Fabio, next I think next segment or next break, for CASA, and I'm not sure that you understood what this is about, but CASAforchildren.org. CASA is an acronym for Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children, and the National CASA is transforming lives. Nearly 700,000 children experience abuse or neglect each year. Instead of playing with neighbors and making happy family memories, they're attending court hearings, adjusting to new foster homes, and transitioning to new schools. That's a heavy burden for a child to carry, and with a court-appointed special advocate, i.e. CASA, or guardian ad litem, GAL, volunteer dedicated to their case, America's most vulnerable children will have someone speaking up for their best interest. And with your support, more children will have the opportunity to thrive in a safe and loving home. I share this with you because I would ask you to go to CASAforchildren.org and learn more about the court-appointed special advocates for children. To that end, let's go to New York, take a call from Carol. Carol, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi there. Good morning. How are you doing?
Terrific. How about yourself?
Very good, thank you. I did call to ask about CVT. And I'm saying this from memory.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Right. Continuous variable transmission.
Is that only on automatics?
Well, it is automatic per se, in as much as you don't have to shift it. It changes from one gear ratio to another automatically.
Which is what they've been doing for decades anyway, or is this like
Well,
more
yes,
efficient?
That depends. Years ago, and I'm speaking years ago before Americans ever heard of a CVT, there was a company called MAN in the UK that produced a pulley-driven constant velocity transmission, but it was made for light duty. And then fast forward to 40, 50 years, and we in the States decided that we could benefit in our cars by having a transmission that had multiple gear ratios. To that end, Ford Motor Company and General Motors partnered last year and now are offering a 10-speed transmission. The new Ford EcoBoost truck has a 10-speed transmission, and Carol, here's the advantage of the 10-speed transmission, and the advantage could be,
Still automatic, right?
It's still automatic. It's still automatic. You've ridden 10-speed bike before?
Not real 3-speed.
Okay, all right. Well, 3-speed. You wouldn't put it in third gear and start off, right?
Heck no.
Well, heck no, because you couldn't turn the pedals. So, if you were going, let's say, 7 miles per hour, which that's a good easy speed for bicycle riding. So if you're going 7 miles per hour, depending on if you're on a flat surface, you probably could put it into 10th speed or 8th speed, and your legs would be comfortable, your leg pressure would be comfortable, as long as you didn't go up a hill. And if you're going down a hill, you can put it in 20th gear because there's no load. An engine, that's called a sweet spot. An engine has a sweet spot where it delivers, and this is not anything to do with horsepower, it's all about torque. Torque is the ability to turn the wheels, turn the drive shaft. Torque is the sweet spot, and when you have an engine that, say, has a sweet spot in its torque curve of 1800 RPM, you want that engine turning 1800 RPM as often as you can. But if you're going 60 miles per hour and you're turning 1800, what if you wanted to go 70? You have to turn more RPM. No, you just shift gears to a higher ratio, and the engine still turns 1800 RPM, but the car's going 60 now, or 70 now, or 80 now. So theoretically, like my Viper, it had a 6-speed. It would run theoretically 195 in 5th gear. 6th gear was so much of an
195.
Yes, ma'am. 194 in 5th gear. In 6th gear, it would theoretically run 300, but because it was so tall and gear ratio was so high, that it would only run in 6th gear 155 miles per hour. It would be like you riding a 3-speed bike going up a hill and you put it in 20th gear. If you had the power, you could go 100 miles an hour up the hill, but you don't have that kind of power, and the engine did not either. It's because of the sweet spot. I'm a 5'7.5". If I jog with a 6'5" guy, I'm going to be running my legs off, and he's going to be just, kind of, simmering along, cantering along.
I know the feeling because I'm 5'1".
Well, there you go. I'm a short guy as well. So the bottom line, there's a sweet spot that depends on the stroke of an engine, like our stroke, our height, and our leg length, and the stroke of an engine, and the torque ratios, and all that. And here's the essence of all of the technological wow that I can marvel you with. I won't. Everything in gas mileage is designed so that we go up and to the left, which means that we get the torque as quickly as possible with RPM and as low as possible. So if we could take our gasoline engines and get the maximum torque at 1500 RPM and then put a 12-speed transmission, we could be running 70 at 1200 RPM if we had that torque. And so that's an overkill, but that's exactly what a diesel does. It has its torque at 1200 RPM off idle. You could pull a stump, as they say. And that's what drives the turbocharged new EcoBoost and EcoTech engines of GM and SkyActiv of Mazda. All those engines are designed to have a turbocharger boosting their power at the lowest RPM possible. And to that end, they're even now coming out with electric drive turbochargers that turbocharge the the turbocharger that's driven by the exhaust, so they can have that positive pressure pushing the piston at lower RPM. That's a long-winded story to say that your CVT doesn't have gears, it has two pulleys. And as one pulley gets wider, the other pulley gets narrower, so that the distance between the pulley stays the same, but the ratios change. And if you've ever looked under a lawnmower that's a belt drive on some lawnmowers, that's exactly what they use. They use a belt drive, and you want to change it fast or slow, you just make the pulley broader, and the belt rides down in the groove or up on the shoulders of the groove. It's very interesting.
Can I ask one quickie question? I hear music in the background.
Okay, quick.
Exhaust manifold. Because I drive manual transmission, I have noticed for decades.
Stop right there when I come back. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. When a heater core starts to fail, it can be costly depending on location, maybe $1,000 even. When a heater core leaks, it usually comes on gradually with a smell of coolant and a film on the glass that keeps returning. Common leaks are the glued seals on the plastic tanks. This represents a perfect opportunity to use K-Seal, as it can be poured into the cooling system and driven right away. And K-Seal remains in the system, so it can prevent future leaks as well. We recently used K-Seal on a Honda to stop a heater core leak. We never experienced the smell of coolant, but we had to regularly clean the inside windshield glass to remove that film. It doesn't take more than a few drops from a leaking heater core to cause an unsafe film on the glass. After using K-Seal, it stopped. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere, and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Let's go back to New York and Carol. I love it that you said that the music's playing. I know that we're about to go out. So I was telling Fabio, I said, well, she's obviously a long-time listener to the program. That music is so much fun to me because from my drag racing days when I built rear engine dragsters and engines, mostly the engines, I love splitting that second, and so our show and our brakes are fixed, which means that we have to get out on time, and we're anal about that, and Fabio does a fantastic job. So the music drives me, and sometimes I get so carried away, that I don't know where I am in time, but that music reminds me. And when you said, I know the music's coming, I've got to go, you reminded me of me, so you must be a long-time listener. But let's go back to where you were.
Probably 10 years,
well,
if not more.
Well, that's terrific. So what was your question, or what was your about exhaust manifolds?
I'll try to talk quickly.
Okay.
Back when I was in high school, we had to trace, during our driver ed class, we traced a drop of gasoline from the time it entered the tank till the time it went out the exhaust as smoke. And I was always fascinated by that, and I had it memorized for many years. But when I started driving manual transmission and on really cold weather, of course, it's been 2 and 11 degrees here, the past month off and on. And when you depress the clutch, what shuts off? Is it the exhaust, part of the exhaust manifold that shuts off the smoke coming out the exhaust? Because when you shift, there is no smoke. It stops. I mean, no exhaust. I don't mean smoke. No exhaust fumes.
Well, that's easy to answer. When you push the clutch in, what is with your left foot, what does your right foot do? Lets off the accelerator, right?
Exactly.
Okay. What does the accelerator, when you step on it, when you push the accelerator down, you're opening the mouth of the engine to let air in, right?
So it's not the clutch.
No, it's the
gas pedal?
Yeah,
Holy
you got
cow.
it. Holy cow. How simple. Yay. Don't you just love it?
Yes.
Yeah.
All these years, I thought it was the darn something in the exhaust manifold that's closing up or doing something, because of the clutch.
Yeah.
And lo and behold,
the
mystery of all these decades has been solved.
No. Well, don't you just love it? Well, they're playing the music. I got to go. Okay.
Okay. One of these days, I'm going to get down there to Florida.
All right. You come down from New York to Florida. We'll welcome you with open arms and tour the studio. Thank you, Miss Carol. Appreciate it, and thank you for your loyalty.
Bye.
Let's move from New York to California. Folks, plenty of time for you to get in. 888-227-2546. Charlie from California, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello,
Hello.
Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
This is Charlie Carroll in Chico, California.
How you doing, Charlie?
Oh, okay. I am calling about a persistent problem I have with a vehicle that I purchased new nearly 60 years ago.
Wow.
1959 Chevrolet El Camino. It's a typical 283 cubic inch V8.
Okay.
And with power pack, but here, a couple of years ago, it developed a low whine, say, in the first mile or two, and then it increased more shrilly as you drive it on. And we just use it for parades and car shows and that sort of thing now. And it's in the drive line somewhere, I guess. I have taken it to 3 different shops. They cannot detect what it is.
Okay, so remind me again. Make the noise for me and tell me what you do to make it occur.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Well, so let me hear the noise, and again, I'm not quite sure that I know when this noise happens. At what point does it happen? Acceleration or deacceleration? Clutch in, clutch out?
Well, actually, it has to be in the drive line because when stopped, like at a stoplight, it does not happen.
Okay, so we're going 30 miles an hour, right?
Beg your pardon?
All right, so we're going 30 miles per hour now. What do you do that makes a noise? Do you step on the accelerator? Do you hear a whine noise?
No, even at low speeds, and starting out, it is a low whine, and then it gets more shrill as time goes on, after I drive it for 5 miles, say. And it even gets embarrassing when you pull up, pedestrians wonder if the car's something wrong with it or whatever.
Okay.
But
all right, so let me ask this. Let me ask this question, Charlotte. Let me ask this question.
Yes.
If does the car have to be in motion always, or does this noise still hang in when you stop at a traffic light and it's out of gear or your clutch is in?
No, it has to be in motion and under power.
Okay. Well, here's what I would do. It obviously it's not a ring and pinion or gear noise, because they would have heard that and it wouldn't scream, in your. What I believe that you have is something very simple, like the slip yoke where it plugs into the back of the transmission is dry. And I would simply say to remove the drive shaft, lubricate the slip yoke with some transmission assembly lube, and put it back together.
All right, we'll try that then.
Okay, well, call me back.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. Thanks for calling from California.
You bet.
888-227-2546. John from New York, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning, sir.
A friend of mine bought a 70 Chevrolet half-ton pickup.
Okay.
Sat for 29 years. But I guess he originally put WD-40 down the spark plug holes, turned it over by hand.
Sure, that's good.
Starts right up. It sounds beautiful. But he says when he goes down the road with it and lets off, it smokes. He thinks maybe I'm thinking maybe the oil rings are stuck on it or something. And
I think it has for that era. I think the first culprit would be valve stem seals, and restricted or clogged drain holes for the rockers. And the first thing that I would do is, literally, if it's a small block Chevrolet of the 70s era, it needs valve cover gaskets anyway.
Right.
And
it's 307.
Well, 601. I would remove either valve cover or both, just choose one that's easiest to get off, and replace and inspect the rockers and inspect the oil drain holes on either end of that head, because that Chevrolet's return holes are only on each end, and if they're stopped up, oil will build up in the rocker area and it will cover the valve guide. And GM didn't use any real seals per se, and so the intake manifold or the intake vacuum would suck oil down the guides, because any Chevrolet of that era, if it had 50,000 miles on it, the guides were worn out anyway. So the answer would be to remove the valve covers, take a flexible, we used to use a speedometer cable from an old car, which we had plenty of those around, and clean out the return hole so that the oil would drain down. Then, if you were mechanically inclined and could find someone using air pressure to hold the valves closed, you would remove the valve springs and put real seals, umbrella seals of a Ford nature on a Chevrolet. And now you can buy all of those aftermarket. And so that way you can have worn guides, but you still shield some of the oil that runs down in the guide. So that's what I would say your problem is, because if you had a ring problem, it would cause this similar issue, but rings usually aren't that bad, even in older cars if they're stuck. And normally with a ring problem, it smokes under acceleration versus deceleration. Got it?
Okay. I'm pretty sure he said deceleration.
Yeah, that's what you said. Yeah.
He wants to take it all apart and replace all the rings. I'm going,
No. You don't do open heart surgery just because you have gas on your chest.
Yeah. All right. I'll run that by him and
okay.
see what he says.
Here, it's easy. Don't argue. It's easy to pull a valve cover and inspect. Duh. It's four little bolts. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. All right, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you from New York. 888-227-2546. So we've got this old car. It comes in the shop. It's not worth a lot of money, and it runs okay, except that it's using coolant. So this was a new customer. It came in 2 weeks ago and said, well, can you guys help? You know, what will it take to fix my car? I mean, that's what people call us. They call us and say, I've got this problem. How long will you take my car? What would it cost to fix, and when can you get to it? Well, I don't know. Bring the car in. We have to look at it first. So this customer did. And that's exactly what we said. You got to bring it to us to look hands-on before we can advise you. Well, it's a good thing because this particular vehicle had coolant leaking, but not leaking externally. It was leaking internally in head gaskets. And the car it just wasn't worth what it would take to fix the car. And quite candidly, we didn't want, nor did we suggest that she fix the car anyway, because if we spent enough money to replace head gaskets and then the transmission went out next week, she said, well, I wish I'd never spent $1,500 on this old car because it's not worth the $2,500. So the bottom line, you've heard me mention K-Seal. This is a perfect time for us to use K-Seal, and we did. And I will tell you, she thinks we are heroes. We did a heck of a job, and we didn't repair anything physically. We actually just poured K-Seal into the cooling system, and the K-Seal did the work for us. Understand, she knew that we didn't spend a lot of money because it was her money and her car. But I will tell you, this car still runs to this day. It's been 10 days now, or maybe 2 weeks. Monday will be 2 weeks. And she's a happy camper because we allowed her, enabled her, is a better word, her car to continue to run, and we sealed the head gasket with K-Seal. So it makes sense, and we're kind of her heroes, and I want to be your hero. If you have an opportunity, check it out, K-Seal online. And if you have a vehicle that has a heater core or radiator or what have you that's leaking, K-Seal is a great product. I endorse it because I use it and I know it, I like it. Go to kseal.com for more information and to check it out next time you need that product. You can find it at O'Reilly Auto Parts. 888-227-2546. Speaking of cooling system, we've talked about in our service shop, it's common because we perform a lot of Lexus repairs. You heard me earlier speaking about Lexus that pull to the right. Well, we work on a lot of Lexus, and the reason because our Lexus dealer is like an hour's drive from our city. So we have a lot of locals that don't want to drive an hour for oil changes or service, or, this is the manufacturer's maintenance services or repairs. And remember that 100,000 miles, if your Lexus has 100,000 miles, it's time for a timing belt. But this is not about Lexus. This is about thermostats. When we do and perform a timing belt repair or replacement on a vehicle, not a repair. Repair is when it's broken or slip time. Replacement's when you've been proactive and you address the issue before the issue addresses you. So to that end, when you put a thermostat in your vehicle, you need to put a thermostat in what we call a kit. Now, this is a Motorrad product, and it's M-O-T-O-R-A-D, Motorrad. Just think of motors and radiators, Motorrad. When we install a thermostat for Motorrad, we install the thermostat kit. Well, what's the thermostat kit? Just as a timing belt kit includes, in a timing belt kit, it would include the pulleys, the tensioner, the timing belt, and a water pump on a Lexus specifically. We've yet to tear a Lexus down with 100,000 miles that we didn't find and repair during the timing belt, some leakage in the front of the engine, primarily water pump. And the owner didn't even know it, but you could see that red stuff where it was bleeding down. When you replace a thermostat in your vehicle, don't replace the thermostat, replace the thermostat kit. And the kit is provided by Motorrad. So you can go to motorradusa.com and learn more about it. But don't buy, if you do a thermostat, the housing only. Don't do an incomplete job. And also, if you're in the service business, don't do a half the job, do the whole job. The thermostat assembly is what it's listed under for Motorrad, but we call it at Car Clinic Service a thermostat kit, because so many people understand the timing belt kit. Now The industry just needs to understand a thermostat kit. For more information, go to motorradusa.com. 888-227-2546. Gas prices. Gas prices are up over same time last year in every region of the country, not company. But they're down same time last week. What? That's right. But rest assured, every year by year by year, you're going to see a little increase. And so we're at $255.7, $3.13 on the West Coast. So if you need gas and it's down in your region, fill up today. And if you have a car question, just remember that from 10 till noon Eastern Time, every Saturday on your local AM and or FM station, right here, Bobby Likis Car Clinic, we come to you or at watchbobbylive.com. And I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate Dr. Andrew Randolph, Director of Engines for Earnhardt Childress Racing. His engines, number 1 and number 2 in the Daytona 500. Andy, you rock. 888-227, next week, like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Racing Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake